Hey guys, it's Helen Hartsmith here again with
Kathy.
And we're here for our last podcast of 2017.
That's sad. But still good because we're starting new things,
Right.
next year.
Things happen.
Yes.
So,
What's our number?
We're here for podcast 313. And so, of course, we have things to do before we get into the meat of the podcast. So let's get to that. It's time for the Correspondence of the Week. So, Kathy, why don't you tell us what the correspondence is?
It is a bee.
A bee.
A bee.
A bee. And what, how can you work with the bee?
Well, the bee is kind of flexible. So there's a lot of things that you can do when you work with bees, or things you can work with when you work with bees. Things like abundance, the afterlife, agriculture, communication with the dead, concentration, connections between heaven and earth, female energy, fertility, guidance, karma, knowledge, the sweetness of life, the mind, motivation, the other world or underworld, power, prosperity, purification, relationships, spirituality, wisdom, hidden wisdom. The bee is associated with Apollo, Krishna, Ra, and Vishnu, and also Cybele, Demeter, Diana, and Iris. I was reading something interesting how Hermes used bees to get, what's the word? Crap. I lost it. The Temple of Delphi was built by bees. Hermes sought out the gift of prophecy from bees. So I thought that was really interesting. All that other stuff. Bees are good.
Cool. Now, if you're wanting to work with a bee spirit, if your energy is scattered, the bee can help you regain focus. If it stings you, it's saying, wake up and follow the rhythm of your own heartbeat. So those are just some things to kind of think about when working with the bee. So there we have our Correspondence of the Week. So, guys, I gotta take a moment right now just to apologize for being all congested sounding and all that nastiness. Got a bit of a sinus issue happening today, so bear with us as we record this podcast. Kathy, what do we want to talk about today?
So this episode is going to be a recap of the year of 2017, mostly for us personally.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some accomplishments that we might have, or some highlights, or whatever. And at the end, we'll share some things that we're looking forward to next year with. So, all right. So, Kathy, if you had to sum up 2017 in like a word or a phrase for you personally, what would it be?
Patience.
Patience. I think that's a pretty good one.
So, what's your word?
New territory.
Okay.
Yeah. New experiences, new territory, as far as my spirituality goes. So,
okay,
that definitely works for me. So, why don't you share like some of your accomplishments that you've had through this year?
Well, I still have a job, which is awesome. I have, my husband and I joined Weight Watchers in March, and I have lost over 60 pounds.
Yay!
So I still have a long ways to go, but that's part of the patience. It didn't happen one day. It's not all going to come off.
Exactly. That's the right way to think about it.
Yeah. So I moved my mom closer. So she now lives in the next town over, and I get to see her quite a bit more.
Right.
Which kind of also falls into the patience category. And we finished our first students, which was awesome.
Yes.
We transitioned our pagan meetup to doing classes at our meetups.
Right.
So we've been learning a lot of things on that and teaching a lot of items on that. It's been awesome. I managed to accomplish some goals in my spirituality that I set at the beginning of the year, so I'm happy about that.
Good.
We finished a book in our Coven study, which was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's definitely been some super milestones for us both as a coven and some of the other spiritual things that we've got going on in our lives. I know I've been working on my health this year, and so that's been, something that I'm focused on as I continue to finish up my 5th year with the Temple of Witchcraft. So, that's, and I think I will continue to work on that even afterward. I have to say that I'm really enjoying having this focus for a year. Mm-hmm. And I know the roomie was just talking to me yesterday. There are some folks that she follows on YouTube that do like practical planner organizing and things like that. And they actually, they're a married couple. And so they pick like an idea or a word or something like that. And that's their kind of their focus for the year. So that might be something like strength or organization or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then as a family, that's what they work towards for the year. So it's kind of like a goal.
Sure.
And so I feel like that really kind of plays in with this master spell work that I've been working on through my temple studies. And I've got a day or so that I can think about this. I don't know if I want to start. I'd like to start implementing something like that into my life, is to continue this.
Sure.
Working with the zodiac signs even and stuff like that, because I think it worked really well for this health thing. Do I want to make it for the beginning of the year, or do I want to wait until March-ish when I'm done with my temple studies? Right.
Well, it's hard to work on 2 different major spells at once.
Right. I mean, it's possible, but I'm going to implement something like that. I just don't know exactly how it's going to work out. So if y'all are interested in knowing more about that, then maybe we can continue the Master Spell series as we go from year to year or something like that. So let me know if you're interested in or doing something like that with me, because that might be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on in your personal stuff a lot of some of like the other categories and stuff like that I wanted to bring up. As far as like, let's start with the meetups. So for those of you who might not know this, Kathy and I, about a year and a half ago, because I think it was like August, September. Yeah. We started up a pagan meetup that meets monthly for pagans in our area. And so it started off just as a real loose meeting and hanging out and, maybe just having cocktails or drinks,
eat dinner together and just have some discussion.
Right. Just to meet people, networking, if nothing else. And so we started off with that. But Kathy mentioned that we've started turning the time into some classwork and actually having a theme and
we've been doing some spells
work and things like that.
Meditation.
For each time. And so I feel like that's growing nicely.
I think it is. We've had some people come in that we did not meet prior to this.
Right.
So
it's
awesome.
been
and we're not the only ones teaching either. I mean, these other people that are new to us
Right.
have been doing some of the teaching as well.
Right.
Which I
Right.
really appreciate, because as much as we like to share the information we have, we like to learn new things too.
Right. It's not just about us. We didn't start this meetup just so that we could have a forum to talk for an hour or whatever. So that I think that is growing really nicely for us as a group, and we've actually taken from there, because quite a few of our coven sisters participate in that as well. We're able to open up our coven rituals to some other folks that we feel that their energies would mesh and things like that.
I think that's worked well too.
Yeah, so that's been kind of nice. We're able to introduce people to what our style of witchcraft is and stuff like that.
And we had that public ritual for...
And that's more circle of hands than the meetup.
Right.
So part of why we wanted to start the meetups was to eventually form an organization known as Circle of Hands. And so do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so the idea for Circle of Hands is to provide an access to clergy for those who wouldn't normally have access to it. I mean, if you're a Christian or Muslim or Jewish, you can walk down to the nearest organized church or synagogue or whatever, and, go, hey, I need somebody to marry me. I need somebody to do a funeral. Pagans don't have that. And it's hard to get that kind of networking. So that was one of the reasons why we started this, so that we could make available to people in our area clergy for weddings, for christenings, for funerals.
Right. Right, because both of us are clergy, but there are also other members of clergy that we've met through doing this, the pagan meetup. So that's been kind of cool. And so, like Kathy mentioned, we hosted our first open ritual this year for midsummer. We acquired some space in a local park,
which was awesome.
Oh my gosh, the location was perfect. We were tucked back in the far corner of this park, and we weren't bothered. There were some people that kind of came close, but we weren't bothered in any way. We weren't heckled. We weren't anything like that. So that was kind of cool, and I feel like those are some things that we can look forward to doing in the future.
Right.
So that's kind of nice. I'd like to see Circle of Hands
continue to grow.
And we've kind of talked about that as a coven, we've touched a little bit on how to work all that together. So next weekend we will have our yearly planning meeting for our coven, and so we'll be able to hopefully project some things for Circle of Hands too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So if you're interested in more information about meetups, if you're in the mid-Michigan area and listening to us, if you'd like some more information about meetups or possible open rituals, then contact us and let us know. How to get a hold of you, and we can get you that information.
Yeah, and if you're not in the mid-Michigan area, I believe we've done a podcast on how to start your own local group.
Yes, I think we have.
So if you haven't listened to that, go out. Helen's going to link the podcast to make it easy for you to find it.
Yeah. So,
and it's not easy if you don't know anybody, but if you don't put yourself out there, it's never going to happen. And you can't. I think one big thing that came out of this year, not just for me, but for a lot of people, is you can't count on someone else to be the leader. If there are no leaders in the area, you have to step up and do it yourself.
Right. Like if you want something like this to happen, then I think even if you're not a leader, I think that you can start something like this and either find someone who is a leader by having, because it's easy enough to start a meetup.
Right.
You know, all you have to do is find a spot where you can have some kind of privacy.
Right.
You know, even if it's a back room somewhere or a coffee house or something like that, you can start that and you can, you know, obtain permission and say, hey, I would like to do this, that, and the other at your establishment. Are you cool with that?
Right.
Or, I mean, even if you have a new age store in your area, then maybe maybe they have a back room that they would be open to allowing a coffee hour or a tea hour or something like that, and then go from there. You know, I think
a lot of the Universal Unitarian, I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah, something like
the
that.
UU churches, you can rent the rooms for relatively inexpensive to have meetings. Lansing has the Inner Ascended Masteries that a lot of groups use that space.
And there's a Universalist church there too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so there's definitely some opportunities if you're driven for something like that. Right. And I think that as a pagan, community is probably one of the things that it's harder for us to find.
It is.
So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about that, then I will link the podcast that we talked about that in the description box below. So so let's kind of talk about the coven a little bit.
Okay.
What are some milestones or some accomplishments?
Oh, wow. We almost doubled our membership.
Right.
That was amazing.
As is traditional for witchcraft covens, we had our initiations at Imbolc this past year. And so we were a little behind on some things. So some folks got their initiations into degrees that they should have had maybe earlier.
Right.
But, you know, better late than never.
Right. Right. And then we initiated new members.
Right.
Some people who had been working with us for a while. One that had turned 18 a year or so ago. So she was finally old enough to become a member.
She was a member before, but she got her adult status.
Right. An official, not just a child member.
Right.
So it made a long day because we not only did our Imbolc ritual, but we did our coven rededication and all of the degrees and the membership rituals. And it was phenomenal. It was awesome.
Right. And so next Imbolc we'll have some of those same things. We do a coven rededication every year, and we of course do our Imbolc ritual. But I think we've only got one degree.
Yeah. One of our students is interested in attaining the degree. The other one is she did the classes more as an educational thing, which is fine.
Right. Right. Yeah, we're open. We are a coven that are open to all levels of involvement.
Right.
So that was something that was important to us. We wanted to be inclusive of all people, and different folks have different, they're at different points on their path, and we have to honor that, I feel.
And we finished that book, The Body Sacred.
We finished The Body Sacred.
Did we finish 2 books this year?
Yeah, we did. We finished The Body Sacred by Diane Sylvan.
And Jackie Smith.
Coventry Magic.
Yeah, which was a phenomenal book.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a huge accomplishment for us.
A lot of times we get started on a book and then we're like, oh, this isn't really what we thought it would be. And so we start a different book. Or it's not appropriate for us to read as a coven. It's more of an individual thing, and we.
And that kind of falls back to the whole we're at different levels.
There's that too,
and stuff like that. But the fact that we
2 books
that we read 2 books in a year, that's huge.
Yeah, I think we're midway into a third one, aren't we? Close to halfway.
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't have that book with me. We might be close to halfway. I'm not sure. I don't remember how many chapters are in it. Yeah. So,
which reminds me, I need to do my reading before we meet next weekend.
Yeah. So coven stuff. That's pretty huge. Because we went from being 3 members for a long time.
Yeah, 3 for a long
before we had 4.
Then we were 4 for a long with the child. So 4.5, I guess. And now we're 9.
Yeah. Now we're 9.
Yeah.
And then we were 9.
And then we were 9, right.
So, yes, we're all women. Which I wish that there were some male, like some consecutive male energies in the circle.
Yeah, we do get some from time to time, but...
And it's not that we're not open to a male member. We just haven't had a male member in this coven.
Right.
So maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe we're just supposed to be learning about, working with female energies right now.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to push it. Yeah. We're not going to go find a guy to join us just because we think we need a guy.
We don't do that.
So...
We don't do that. Yeah. So, yeah. So the coven is growing strong and that's what's important.
And we managed to do every ritual this year, which sometimes in previous years we've had an issue with weather or, what have you. And this year we've really implemented a lot of remote participation with,
not only in ritual but in coven study as well.
Yeah. With Facebook Messenger video or Skype or FaceTime, whatever works the best at that moment, because sometimes that's kind of a crapshoot. But we've had more member participation because we've opened it up like that, and we've had a couple of rituals where we've done half of us at one person's house and the other half at another person's house.
Right.
And it's worked out very well for us, I think.
Yeah. So another thing that was kind of fun for us this year too as a coven is we did this was our 5th year.
Was it really?
Yeah, because we've had this discussion. This was our 5th year to do our Reallure Away, as we call it. Yeah. And it is a weekend where we go away as a coven. And we hang out as a coven, and we might do crafty things. We hang out. We might watch movies. We do some classes. So it's kind of like a mini convocation.
Except just the coven.
But it's just coven members. Right. And so 5th year, and we found this house for rent. So it was in September? Mm-hmm. Yeah, late September. Oh, because it was over Mabon. Right. Because we did our Mabon ritual there.
Which was phenomenal.
Right.
On top of a hill overlooking the bay. It was just so good.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. So we were in the upper part of the lower peninsula near Traverse City.
North of Traverse City.
Yeah. And so we got... I feel like it was a great deal on that cabin because we went up on a Thursday, came back on a Sunday. So we added a day.
Yeah.
Because normally it was just a Friday to Sunday thing. So we added a day, and it was a great time.
And you keep saying cabin, but this was a house. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was phenomenal.
It was a great time. It was a good time. And I would love to go back there again.
Yeah. It's a bit far.
But it was awesome.
It was awesome. It's a bit far, but yeah.
Right.
It was awesome.
So that's something that we'll do next year too.
Yeah, we do Reallure Away every year. So it's just a matter of figuring out when and where.
Right. So then, of course, speaking of convocation, we attended convocation last February, and it's creeping up.
I know, we got to pre-register.
Right, yes, we do.
Oh, we got to pre-register. Because it's so much cheaper if you pre-register. So if anyone is in Michigan or the surrounding states, I would highly recommend Convocation. I know a lot of people that I've met in the last couple of years who've never even heard of Convocation and do not attend it. And I'm like, you gotta go. This is, even if you just go for a day, it is such a wonderful opportunity to network and to learn and to shop. It's just so
we've talked about it so many times.
Every year we do a pre-convocation and at convocation.
Last year I believe I did a video where I spliced together all of our little wrap ups.
We did our daily thing.
Yeah,
we need to do that.
We'll do that again. We'll definitely do that again. So that was always a positive thing. I know that in the past we've kind of talked about how it isn't necessarily like what we would plan if we were in charge and stuff like that.
And things are weird now that the head guy died.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, so things are changing, but it's still really awesome to go to.
Right. Yeah, it's still something that we like to do. So, and we're planning to go next year. Yay! So Kathy, are you happy with how 2017 turned out? At the end of the day kind of thing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of political shit that's still fucking bullshit.
Right.
Just literally. I cannot believe that people are so stupid as to fall in line with I don't want to make this a political podcast. Everybody knows I don't like 45 and Pence isn't any better and this whole more crap in Alabama is like, what? But I think that it has taught us patience and it has encouraged a lot of people to step up where they were content with not before.
Yeah, I think that as far as like the election goes, I think there were a lot of people that stayed home and they are kind of feeling the what the hell?
Well, and I think there were a lot of people who voted for 45 and are now doing voters' regret.
Right. So I think that as a country, unfortunately, we can't always be riding the happy wave.
Right.
We have to, like everything, there has to be an ebb and a flow.
Right.
And I think it's unfortunate that we have to be dealing with this right now.
It is.
But I think that this is how we learn from our history.
Yes.
And even though we're living in a present day, we are creating history even as we do it.
And I think this just emphasizes how important it is to vote in the midterm elections.
Right.
Because there are a lot of seats that are up in 2018.
Right.
And what are we going to do about it? Are we going to keep this crap going on or are we going to make some changes?
Right. Right.
It's all well and good to sit at our kitchen table and bitch about it, but let's do something about it.
Right, right. So 2018 is definitely a big opportunity for change to happen.
Yes.
So what kind of a change is it going to be?
And how involved do you want to be in it?
Right. So I would highly recommend that folks out there, you educate yourselves and you have an idea of who politician-wise holds your values.
Right.
Maybe something that you want to do as part of a end of season ritual, end of year ritual. Maybe you want to set up an end of year ritual for yourself. And you make a list of, like we just did. We talked about our accomplishments and where we did things and stuff like that. And maybe you make a list of what are your values? What are the things that are important to you? What do you hold dear? And
what are you willing to speak out about?
Right. And educate yourself so that you know who
you're backing.
Right.
Where's your vote? Where do you need your vote to go to reflect your values?
Right.
Other than the political venue, I think this year's been a really good year. Both for me personally and for me spiritually and for the coven. I feel really good about the year personally. Right. I had a lot of reservations at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I think the beginning of 2017, I think a lot of Americans were scared shitless.
Oh, and there's still plenty of reason to be scared.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that, but I think that a lot of people came into this year scared shitless, not sure what to do. And I think that there's been some happenings that have been an example as to how to move forward,
right.
How to have your voice heard, both positive and negative.
Right.
And I think that as a people, I think that we've really been educated in a lot of things in the past year. And we have to not forget that. And we have to...
Yeah, and I think it's also important to point out that it's really easy to listen to the propaganda from both sides, even though they're widely differing in the propaganda.
Right.
But the truth is really somewhere in the middle, and it's important to seek that out before you go vote.
Right. Definitely. So yeah, some things to think about. So Kathy, what are some things that you're looking forward to for next year?
Well, convocation.
Yep, we talked about convocation.
Right.
It's definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, they have some really good speakers this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Real Lured Away toward the end of the year. Continuing with our Circle of Hands, that's awesome. But so Cornflower Wolf and I decided that we were going to go through the Temple of Witchcraft program as well. And I kind of went back and forth. Do I test out of the first 2 or 3 years, or do I just start at the beginning, even though, you know, I don't necessarily need to start at the beginning, but I chose to start back at the beginning because there's a lot of extra materials that Penzak covers in these classes. So Cornflower Wolf and I will be starting in March. I made my May?
I think it's
March.
Something like that.
It's March. And I'm pretty sure it's March. I made my final payment to pay for my class.
Good.
So I am excited about that.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm going to sit down in the next few days and make some goals for myself for my spirituality and what I want to accomplish this year.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to doing that and actually following through on it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to graduating from the Temple of Witchcraft next year and seeing what avenues open up once that's done. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's like the biggest looming thing for me right now. There's some other things that are like in the works for us, that we're kind of not talking about, and stuff like that, just because we're waiting for some things to come into fruition and different things like that. So,
I'm also looking forward to continuing with Weight Watchers and possibly meeting my goal of weight by the end of next year.
Yeah. That's good. Good.
We'll see.
Alrighty then. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this podcast, our last podcast of 2017. If you've been following us here at the podcast or on the Heart of the Witch's Path channel, we would like to take a moment to just to give you a super, super amazingly heartfelt thank you.
Yes, thank you.
For following us and for making this part of your daily, weekly path. And
we appreciate those who have made comments and asked for various podcasts or videos. We'd like to see more of those coming.
Right. So let us know if there's a subject that you would like for us to cover.
Or something you'd like for us to cover more in depth.
Right. We would be more than happy to share our opinions with you.
For what that's worth.
And our experiences. So if you liked this podcast or learned something from it, we would appreciate a thumbs up. We like that.
Right. If you haven't already, please subscribe.
Definitely. We would also like to hear, what are your accomplishments for 2017 and what are you looking forward to in 2018?
Yeah.
So make a comment down below, or if you would like to email us, you can always do that at heartofthewitchespath@yahoo.com.
And there's also an Instagram.
Right. So there's a Heart of the Witch's Path Instagram that you can follow. This past week has been kind of quiet. I've been kind of feeling gross and yucky. So hopefully I will be feeling better soon. So that's going to wrap it up for us. Once again, thank you so much for walking the path for a little while with us. And until next time, blessed be.